PowerBoat Television is brought to you by Yamaha. Conquer water with Yamaha. Cruisers Yachts. Luxury yachts and bow riders for all your adventures. And BoatBuys.com. 60,000 new and used boats for sale.
Welcome back to beautiful Quebec City. Now it's just as great as we left it, but we're leaving it again. Last week we headed upriver where it narrowed down a little ways and explored some of the urban boating. This week we're gonna go the opposite way, à gauche, when we leave the lock and head downriver where it opens up and check out some of the popular anchorages. It's a little cloudy right now, but it's supposed to clear up, so hopefully they'll be pretty busy. And if they are, maybe we'll raft up. But first, we gotta catch this lock.
For those who did not catch the show last week, we are in the Port of Quebec, inside the Louise Basin. And because the St. Lawrence River has a tide which varies from 4 to 6 meters every day, the Port of Quebec has built the lock inside Louise Basin to control the water level for boaters. As we got back onto the St. Lawrence and headed eastward and away from the city, the clouds burned off just as predicted. 3 nautical miles, or 5 kilometers, from the marina is a massive island that splits the river before it really opens up.
Want to drive the boat? Yeah. All right. The island, that's Île d'Orléans?
Île d'Orléans. It was one of the first settlement of Nouvelle-France, and it was discovered by Jacques Cartier in 1535, and he named it Île de Bacchus because of all the
Bacchus?
winery. Yeah.
Oh, so there's wineries on there?
Yeah.
Ooh.
And there is a lot of strawberries and apple and cheese factory, chocolate factory.
It's also considered the cradle of French civilization in North America, and to some, as Quebec's garden, with all that active agriculture in the middle. But the shoreline is recreation and relaxation, and popular with boats of all sizes. About 5.5 miles or 10 kilometers along the southern shore, we found the marina, Club Nautique de l'Île Bacchus. Founded in 1984, there are 130 slips that can accommodate boats up to 50 feet long. And the ramp was getting a lot of action today thanks to the warm July sun now beating down on us. Since we have the showroom lighting, this is the perfect time to take a closer look at the beauty of a boat we've been exploring on. This 1965 Bertram is a 38-foot-long sport fish, but it's been totally upgraded from engines to electronics, so it's a classic design, but with modern comforts. There is a fair bit that's true to the original, mind you, including the fighting chairs in the aft cockpit, which are used for lounging more than anything these days. And the exterior hasn't been changed other than the custom paint job. But in my eyes, they've chosen classic colors. Inside, the staterooms and head are pretty close to what you would have found originally, though the notable change of swapping the master stateroom from bunks flanking a toilet to a queen bed strikes me as just about as necessary an upgrade as you'll ever find. The main salon and galley has been changed around a fair bit. Originally, the door was on the center line, but it's been moved to port slightly, and the L-shaped couch added. It opens it up, but doesn't blow up the flow and layout to feel forced. Actually, had Patrick not told me, I wouldn't have guessed this had been changed. It works that well. Up on the bridge, however, it's immediately evident that this has been retrofitted with all the latest and greatest. Everything from digital throttles to the chart plotter to the joystick piloting means this old beauty handles like new. A lot of cruiser owners don't like running on plane because their boat is older and they don't want to stress the engine, or the old power plants are just too inefficient. Neither is a problem here, with the original Cummins switched out for twin 480 horsepower Volvo TAMD 74s. We regularly got up on step and covered a lot of water, running around 23 to 25 knots on cruise, and very smoothly, I might add. This can hit a top speed of 30 knots, which is about 35 miles per hour. It has autopilot, and if you're going to use the function on something as busy as the St. Lawrence River, you're going to have to make adjustments to your course from time to time. But it's not the pain in the neck it used to be.
Well, this one here has got the shadow drive, and you can take control of the wheel. If you get the wheel and go left or right, it'll go left or right in the back. Before the older model, you had to go stand by and then take control.
Right.
This one here with the shadow drive, you can take control right away. Just try it. So you take it over and then let go. We'll come back right on the track.
The modern changes on a classic boat, peppered with nostalgia, having been in the family for years, makes it almost impossible to put a price on. Patrick made it very clear it was not for sale. While I remained at the helm, as soon as we slowed down, I learned firsthand about the other boating challenge around these parts.
Feels like we're still turning.
It's just the current.
Oh.
Yeah, once you get a little more speed, it'll stay straighter.
It can get ripping along pretty good here, since this is where it starts to narrow down. And when we were out, it was about 4 knots. Not bad when you're running with it, but that burns a bunch of extra fuel if you're headed into it for hours. Luckily, you don't have to go far to see a lot if Quebec City is your base. And as I've said already, history colors just about everything here, from the boating, to the city, to even the industry. This massive complex right here is the Davie Shipyard, Canada's largest and one of the biggest anywhere on the continent. Davie Shipbuilding dates back to 1825, when it was founded by English captain Allison Davie, and has made ships for the Canadian Navy for World Wars I and II, freighters for Canada Steamship Lines, offshore drilling rigs, and just about everything in between. Rounding the western tip of Ile d'Orléans and coming around to the northern side, I spotted a patch of white in the distance. As we cruised under the only bridge to the island, it was about as close as we could get.
Is that...
That's the chute Montmorency. Yeah, right here to your left. Yeah, it's worthwhile checking it a little closer.
It's huge.
Yeah, it's great. You just can't get there with the boat because it's pretty shallow, but go with a smaller boat and it's quite an experience. It's great.
Yeah, and you were looking up, you said it's taller than Niagara Falls?
Yeah, 33 meters higher than Niagara Falls. And there is a zip line over there, and you can climb on ice in the winter. It's really interesting.
Cool. There's no way to boat up there because it's shallow.
It's shallow, but if you have a small boat, I guess you can get closer. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can do a Zodiac tour.
Ooh, we should do that.
But first, I'll relinquish control so Patrick can show us one more local hotspot.
So we're heading back to the marina, but you're saying we're going to have a very important detour first.
Yeah, we're going to stop at Baie de Beauport, which is just before the marina, and that's where most people hang out for the afternoon on a sunny day. There's a beach there, people wrapped up together, and they go swimming and have fun for the day. So it sounds like that's where we should be going.
Sounds right to me.
By the time we arrived, the wind had kicked up, so it wasn't as calm as it usually is, but it's still a beautiful spot. It's nice to have something just a couple miles from the marina and city that feels like a summer retreat. No time to swim for us, though. We gotta get back to the marina in time for the Latin party, and hopefully this will keep us warm for the splash-filled fun of the Zodiac tour later in the show.
Today we've got a chance to take a look at Yamaha's brand new 210 FSH Sport. Today we've got a chance to take a look at Yamaha's brand new 210 FSH Sport.
Unlike the 190 FSH, the 210 has a larger bow seating area with a bench to either side. The padded seat cushions removed to reveal non-skid casting platforms with storage below. There's plenty of storage space on this boat, and the biggest is in the center console.
It doesn't look that big at first until you step down inside and see how deep it is. So even if you're not using this as a changing area, you could certainly use it to store a lot of gear.
You'll also find the instrument panel here behind the changing curtain. It's easy to access for any troubleshooting down the road. All the inside surfaces are gel-coated, a nice feature to prevent raw fiberglass from getting on your hands. The Sport model comes standard with a removable T-top.
And this T-top comes apart in a couple of sections. You'll notice some bolts in the midsection here and on the top. So if you're storing it in a place you don't have a lot of height, you can actually take the T-top apart. And notice the EVA foam material, anti-skid, doesn't get hot in the sun, and you'll find it everywhere. This is becoming much more popular. It's nice to see Yamaha using it here in the gunnels too, and this appears to be the 20mm thick stuff.
For the captain, the helm seat is double wide, with a pivoting backrest and secure cooler storage below. To either side, you'll find two rear seats with removable cushions to enlarge the casting platform. Both flip up to reveal storage underneath. To starboard is an 18-gallon aerated live well. Topping off the fishing features, we found 12 rod holders plus dedicated storage for 10 more rods. There are even 6 little cutouts in the canvas with grommets for longer rods.
Most people tend to use their center consoles for fishing. It's becoming more and more popular now to use center consoles as cottage boats, utility boats, and even just fun family boats. One of the great things about Jet Drive is you've got no outboard hanging off the back. So you actually have a fully functional swim platform. Just look at how big the swim platform is for a 21-foot sport boat and how low it is to the water, which should make getting in and out really easy. But another thing about Jet Drives is you can get into really shallow water. When we left the dock in this boat, it was less than 2 feet deep, and you don't really even have to worry about it. Yamaha chose to use the smaller TR1 engines, the 1049cc triples in this boat. And while some people might complain a bit they aren't powerful enough, we're getting 42, 43 miles an hour on this cold day in October in fresh water.
Yamaha has worked hard to keep these engines and drives quiet, but there is one downside to jets. They are noisier than a typical outboard. The upside is reaction time. There's no outboard engine trim to worry about before making a turn. You can just crank the wheel and firewall the throttles. There's no slipping or prop ventilation, that boat just turns.
That's the center console!
In these choppy conditions, Yamaha's Cruise Assist quickly becomes an essential feature. Waves striking the hull can make smooth throttle transitions difficult with those responsive engines.
Well, the Cruise Assist, any speed, doesn't matter when or where, you just push the button and it holds that speed. It's not fast enough, a couple of optics, and we're catching the camera boat again. Why more boats don't have this feature, I have no idea. This boat is so maneuverable. It's just unbelievable. Show me another sport fish center console that you can do this in. All the while, we're playing around using Cruise Assist. And there's no pounding sensation whatsoever. I mean, we're in at least 12 to 18-inch top with cruise control on, absolutely having a blast.
Hundreds of hours of having fun on the boat means hundreds of hours of steam and moisture and condensation eating away at this over time. Over the years, we've talked about some maintenance that you can do yourself on your boat. Takes a little bit of work. If you don't know what you're doing, takes a little bit of time, but it'll save you a few bucks. And we've talked about everything from oil changes to filter changes to spark plug and ignition wiring changes, even changing the distributor assembly on this portside engine of mine. We haven't talked about on the show in years, though, is corrosion. In terms of corrosion within the engine, that's not something you can visually inspect, but you can do some preventative maintenance, like using Mercury Quick Care. Now, this should be used at every fill-up, and it helps prevent corrosion and varnish buildup. And I know when you hear use at every fill-up, you're probably thinking the same thing you think when your dentist says floss every day, and you're not gonna do that. Well, the more you do it, the better it is. Also floss. But there's also Mercury Quick Clean. Now this isn't to be used at every fill-up. You should use it at least once a season. Now this is to remove carbon deposits from everything from carburetors to your injectors, cylinder heads. Basically everywhere the fuel goes, this will be going and clear that all out. And in terms of what you can visually inspect, exhaust is a pretty obvious one. So that's what we're gonna do this week. We're gonna show you what you can look for, and if you need to replace something, what to replace, because spoiler alert, one of my exhaust elbows is pretty nasty. So start by loosening the hose clamps. In theory, you could just take this one section of hose off, but from my experience, that is frustrating. So instead of removing these clamps here, I'm gonna move all the way down, and then we're gonna remove these two right here that connect into the muffler, but then take this L-shaped section off. You can see this is like badly corroded. Let me get a piece off this even. That shouldn't be possible. In fact, there was a couple pieces that fell off as we took the hose off. So before we actually remove the exhaust elbow and go about replacing it, what we're gonna do is drain the coolant from the manifold here. And even though there's no coolant in the elbow itself, there's coolant going into the riser, and we're gonna be replacing the gaskets in between them as well. So there'll be coolant on the bottom side on the gasket. So how do we get this bad? Well, see this hose right here? This is raw water coming in from the lake, and that goes right into the exhaust elbow. The water comes around, mixes with the hot exhaust coming from that big hole in the middle in this tube to cool it down, because the exhaust is so hot, it would melt it. You can actually see right here, premium marine wet exhaust hose. Hundreds of hours of having fun on the boat means hundreds of hours of steam and moisture and wetness and condensation eating away at this over time. No big deal though, we can change it. And to give you an example of how bad this is, we took the hose off the same exhaust elbow on the other engine. It is in very good shape, which leads me to believe this one was actually changed right before we bought it. We got the raw water hose off, we got the exhaust hose off, and we've got the electronic module box off. And we've sprayed all four of the bolts here with WD-40 because given how much corrosion is here, this probably has been here for quite a while because we do not want to break these bolts off. The beauty of this design is you can see if there's any movement. So along with the feel, you have that visual. There's all that gunk. So the riser looks in good shape. The metal gasket in between's in good shape. Then we'll put another one of these softer ones on top. New elbow. Same deal with the screws. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. This red stuff down here. That acts as a way to sort of lock the bolt in place, but also keeps it from seizing when you have to remove it. It's like teenage years all over again. Awkwardness is key. Teflon tape on there to make sure the seal's hunky-dory. Now we'll put this back on. No leaks from the raw water. Nice and cool on top, meaning we're getting the water through. No drips on the exhaust. Job done. So today we're with Excursion Maritime Quebec to get up close and personal with Shoot Montmorency.
Back in Quebec City, if you don't have a boat, you probably think water-based exploration is limited to the giant, slow-moving cruise boats. Mais non, mon ami. I made some calls to find the most fun, best boat-loving trip around. And despite the language barrier, when I said fun, people knew exactly what I needed, and they sent me here, to Excursion Maritime Quebec. More simply, EMQ. Based right on the other side of the lock from the marina.
Take care with your shoes, okay, mister? All the seat as a balloon, okay?
Plus en arrière, en avant.
I think Steven here, and you here, or you here.
Well, the princess seat goes there, so.
Yes.
And do the
I
wave.
think it's the best.
And unlike the warm sun we experienced out on the river yesterday, today we'll be dealing with overcast skies, cool air, but still, I'm pretty pumped for this. Denied my princess seat and due royal deference, we head out past the big blue tugs again. Only this time, we're riding low to the water. A lot of fun for sure, and on a cold and rainy morning, you don't need coffee to be jolted awake. First stop was a flyby of the commercial port. For me, getting up close and personal with big freighters is always a thrill. And cruising past the beach, it's a very different look than it was yesterday, that's for sure.
So today we're with Excursion Maritime Quebec. They've been in business since 2006. As you can see, offering Zodiac tours. There's a couple of ones that they have around Ile d'Orléans, other way on the river. But we're on one to get up close and personal with Chute Montmorency. A little bit different boat than Patrick's cruise the other day, but fun in its own way. And we've lucked out. The rain has passed us.
You can get here by land, sure. There's a great trail and steps to get up close to the falls, which are more than 50% higher than Niagara Falls and truly impressive. But in my eyes, as great as this is to walk up to, it's much more fun to see by water. And of course, like everything here, you can't go 50 feet without tripping over history.
On the right of the fall, that was the strategic place for the Britons. The Royal Britannic Army in 1759.
On the way back, we wanted even more fun in our ride, so I called an audible.
This little red Zeppelin here is also for tours, right?
Yes.
Can we have a ride on that one?
Yes.
We're switching from SUV to...
On va faire une petite ride avec le bateau.
Yeah.
Parfait. This is the smallest excursion boat on northern Mexico. 14 feet. It's so fast. It's a two-stroke motor. It's very fun either.
Yeah.
Okay? You want your ride?
Yeah.
Don't worry about the splash.
See ya.
From historical city to stunning skyline to a mix of every type of boating imaginable, Quebec City was a pleasant surprise for me, having never been on the water here before. But it's definitely on my bucket list to return. This place is just too much fun. Merci beaucoup, Quebec.